Hi, we're your co-hosts, Lark and
Kimberly.
and this is Auto Asphyxiation. Yes, that is a S&M reference because it seems like the US is really into pain today and every day. Anyway, but today we're discussing the bus and why it's so shitty. Do you have any shitty bus stories, Kimberly?
I do have some shitty bus stories. I always rode the bus when I was a little kid in the Bronx, and honestly, I don't have any shitty bus stories from that time.
Yeah.
My most of my bus stories are from Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that really always stands out in my mind whenever I think of riding the bus is one night I was on my way home from the mall.
Mm-hmm.
I had just gone to buy my boyfriend a birthday present. I was the only person on the bus. And the literal comic book guy from The Simpsons got on the bus and sat right next to me. Like there was and I was like, I think I was like 22 around, yeah, I was 22 around this time. Like I was still pretty new to the Phoenix area, so I was just like, why?
Yeah, yeah.
Like why? And I'm like, I always try to be a polite and nice person, like, but it was just he didn't need to sit down next to me, and he started talking to me about all of the different dialects that are spoken in East Africa. And
Oh my god! I mean, I think the thing is like weird is that we're very lucky. Okay, we are in New Jersey, but we are in the New York metro area, so our bus situation is not going to be. Well, I was raised in Los Angeles, and I didn't get on the bus until I got on the bus in between before I was 21 years old. I got on the bus one time. I got on the bus because my sister had met this boy, and we lied and told my dad we were going to the Manhattan Beach movie theater, and really we were going to Redondo Beach. But she was like, what we could do is we could go to Manhattan Beach, we go to the movie, have our dad drop us off, and then we'll get on the bus to Redondo Beach, and then we'll get back. Well, in Los Angeles, the bus stops running. It only runs like once an hour. So we took the bus. We got lucky. I guess we just timed it right, and we got lucky. We got on the bus, but on the way back, the bus never showed up. Apparently, the bus stopped running at 10 o'clock. And we had to run all the way back from Manhattan, Redondo Beach to Manhattan Beach. We were like running, and she was just like, "Oh my God, we shouldn't have done this." And I'm like, "We shouldn't have lied." And I said, "No, we shouldn't have taken the bus." That's what I learned from that whole situation. But it's like, I think it's really weird. Like, we have a discussion group called Space is a Means of Production, which you guys can access on a feminist newsletter in New Jersey, and you can talk and all this stuff. Anyway, but we were on there and we were talking about why don't middle-class men ride the bus? This is a statistical fact. Even though some people are like, I take the bus sometimes, you just kind of like, okay, look. I understand that there are some unicorns, but generally, middle-class men don't take the bus. And why do you think that is? Like, what do we think that is? I mean, I mean, it's kind of easy to say why, but just for the sake of argument, why do you think that is?
Well, I think I think a lot of the comments that the group got were really telling. Like I think that they really do have a mindset of like, well, I've earned this car and I've earned this job and I've earned my cocoon while commuting to work. I don't have to be around other people, and I really do think that that's likely why. I think it like that bootstraps ideology of I pulled myself up. So, I think they feel like, well, if I was poor and I had to ride the bus, I'm never going to get on the bus ever again.
Yeah, it seems like to me, for some reason, it seems like in the 90s or something like that, or even people like the 90s and the 80s, apparently the bus was a much different place. for some people, and I'm not saying it's not, whatever, but I'm just like, you're talking about you were in Tempe, and it was weird because I happened to get this article from Bloomberg, and they were like saying, okay, what did it say? When a new bus route was chartered through a white Tempe, Arizona neighborhood a few years back, this is like in 14. Neighbors complained the line would attract serial killers, child rapists, bums, drunks, and quote unquote Mexicans who the commentator would fear would be drinking out of their water hoses. This is in Bloomberg. I mean, and the thing is that but the guys on our thread, the ones that were honest, like I some of them I don't believe them, but the ones that were honest were like, that's kind of what they said. They were like, I'm not gonna get, that's where people who didn't win, that's who takes the bus, and I'm a winner.
Yeah, I won my BMW.
I won this in the meritocracy prize. I won a car, and never will I ever go back. And I think the thing is really interesting is that, there's not that, of course, urbanism, transportation planning, all that stuff is very male dominated field, engineers, etc. I think one thing that's interesting is that we have things like that focus on women, but not necessarily things that like are feminist urbanist or like feminist lens. They'll kind of be like, women, they do 9-to-5 jobs too. And you're kind of like, okay, that's great. Kind of like, women can be CEOs and cops. And it's just like, that's great.
Women can even be doctors.
Doctors and they can be fascists, like women can do anything. You're like, wow, that's amazing. But it's kind of like, where are these feminist urbanists that were kind of like, wow, most primary caregivers, most people who are women, most people essentially outside of the middle class men demographic, and outside the middle class men white demographic, people take trips in the middle of the day between the hours of 9 and 5 because they're or outside the hours of 9 to 5 because they have to take their kids to school, so they have to get on the bus earlier, and then they have to go shopping. So it's like they're doing a lot of trips, even if they're working at home. They're doing a lot of trips outside of that rush hour period, and you kind of wonder, well, if we have organizations called Women in Transit, why aren't they working on stuff like that? They're not working, they're just kind of working on this. I mean, I think in a way in the United States, it's really interesting. We don't have this kind of idea of having a feminist urbanist lens on transportation, even though most transit riders are women. Did you know that?
Yeah, I it makes sense though that most transit riders would be women.
Yeah.
Especially like I'm a person who I really do like to drive.
Yeah.
But driving has become like really terrifying and anxiety inducing lately. Like,
yeah, no, it is. It's scary. I mean, I've been driving since I was 16 years old, and I found myself, I went to that period where I saw Inconvenient Truth and didn't drive for like almost a half a decade because I was like, driving is killing the planet. But we'll get into that later. But you're taking, it's nerve-wracking, and you want that, we want an option to be able to not have to drive our cars, but not have to be in the situation where I think one of the things that when we were asking a question on Spaces and Means of Production about the bus, I think some people were kind of like, yeah, people should tough it out on this horrible bus. And it's like, I wasn't trying to say that. Like, we weren't trying to say that. We were trying to say, this is horrible. And like, people with privilege don't have to put up with this. And because this is the stories that we're telling is like, okay, the bus is empty. The bus comes once an hour. The bus stops running. The bus is, and here's the thing, when they talk about things like, I think about like safety, they're like, oh yeah, we want the bus to be safe. But guess what? If a bus came every 5 minutes, it would be safer. Like literally.
Yeah.
You don't have to put cops. You don't have to do all this stuff. If we put lighting, like you run a bus once an hour and twice every 2 hours after 11 p.m. I don't care how many lights you put up. It's still going to be.
You're still stranding people in the middle of nowhere at hours that people don't really hang out.
No, it's kind of like this. Well, yeah, great. I have this big light on me. So now all of the crazies can see me.
See me. I'm highlighted.
Yeah. I'm highlighted.
I'm right here, guys.
I'm right here. Come get me. I'm gonna be here about 2 hours because you know how frequently the bus is running. I mean, I that was kind of the ableist term. I didn't mean to say that, but I'm just saying he's right in regards to like, whoa, yes, like yes, even how they're thinking about safety. Safety. If you made the bus, if the buses ran properly and appropriately, then it would be automatically safer. Just like the subway, it's kind of like, wow, I've been in times that I'm in New York on the subway, and there's a person, and you're just kind of like, woo, that person is kind of uncomfortable. And but the thing is that if you know another train is coming in 5 minutes, you can get on the train, or you can watch them get on the train and get on the next train.
Yes.
Kind of like,
Yeah. And I've tried to avoid people on buses like that before. Like I've been when I lived in the Coachella Valley, the buses ran pretty often, like every like 15 to 20 minutes during the day. So like when I remember one time I was on my way home, and this like, I don't think he meant any harm. I think he was just a lonely old man. Honestly, I do.
Yeah.
But he kind of was like following me around. And I got off the bus, and he didn't catch it, and I just watched the bus go away, and I just waited for the next one. I was like, okay.
No, that's the thing. The option of being able, like, wow, this bus is not serving me right now. I need to get off. Like, kind of like, but the thing is, like, on the West Coast, like Arizona, California, there, in California, we have this train called the Blue Line. I think now it's called the A train. Anyway, it was the most dangerous train in the United States. And the reason why it was so dangerous is because the buses around the train would run like once an hour. So even during quote unquote rush hour, so you would take the Blue Line and you'd have to run across the street to catch the bus, and people would get run down trying to catch the bus. It was so frequent. It was like the most dangerous train in America. And you don't even take public transit in LA. And especially back then, like, how did you get that moniker when people are even taking it? But you're killing more people on your trains than in New York. How is that happening? Not in Los Angeles.
And all they needed to do was add a couple of additional buses.
Yeah, all you do is add like a few more buses so that people, because the thing is that's the thing too. It's kind of like in a lot of types on the West Coast, well, a lot of working class jobs, you have to hide. You don't have a car. Because if you don't, and I think a lot of middle class men, they don't understand that. If you don't have a car, people won't hire you. A lot of jobs are like, do you have a car? And of course you're gonna be like people get live, they can use Excel.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a car, and I also know how to use Excel. So,
Yeah.
and so in order to hide that, you're like, can't be late, because so you're ending up like getting up 2 hours. I mean, I know people who have this story, like getting up 2 hours early to do this. And I think that this is, something, and I think here's the thing, the bus can work. I think about in Bogota. What's this guy's name? His name is, I want to say Gil, but that's not his actual name. That's his name on LinkedIn. But the guy he was the mayor of Bogota, Peñalosa, and I'm saying it wrong, I apologize, but we'll call him Gil. So it's Gil Peñalosa. His brother Enrique was the mayor of Bogota, and they had this thing called Ciclavia, where they closed off the streets and everybody was riding their bicycles. But his brother Enrique started this bus service, and it was called, the Transmilenio bus service in Bogota. And what he did was, in neighborhoods that were essentially in poor neighborhoods and neighborhoods that were under-resourced, he made this beautiful bus service. And literally, he made bus stops that were like subway stops, and it ran super frequently. And so it's like, he was like, yeah, I made an effort to make the bus seem like premium service. So it wasn't like, oh, that's what poor people ride. The bus is like people, like everybody rides. And essentially, to get on the bus, it's like 80 cents to get on the bus. And which is, how much is the bus here? The bus is, well, I know it costs $3 to get on the light rail. So I think it's $3 to get on the bus now.
Yeah.
And that's, and the thing is that you taking only one bus in New Jersey is probably not,
You have to transfer a million times.
Yeah, you got to transfer. You're getting on the light rail. You're getting on the heavy rail. You're getting on all this stuff because getting into places intra New Jersey is very challenging. So it's $3 to get on the bus. So this is a nice bus, premium service. They have. I mean, I saw it. It's beautiful. I'll probably put a link up. I'll put like that's what I'll do. I'll put like a link and you can see like this fast running bus. And I'm like, so it's like we know it can be done. We know a nice bus can be done. Do you think that we have the will to do a nice bus in the United States?
I hope so. I do think that there are people that are willing to put in the effort and, talk about how we can bring a nicer bus service to cities in the United States. And we do have nice bus services. Portland, Oregon, I only spent like a week there, but I was very impressed with their bus service. And they even had like little schedule TVs in the bus stops, to let you know if there was a delay, how long the delay was going to be. I was, wow. So it's possible. Other cities in the United States definitely have it. And I think you're right. I think we do need to talk more to the people that are actually taking the bus instead of like the people that are more focused on the girl boss like aspects of women in transportation, like they're girl bossing it and they're not really talking to the people that are using the transportation.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think about even though I know I don't know if I could say this, but in Manhattan, I'm like the buses in Manhattan are really nice. I was surprised. I remember the first time I took the bus I had moved from I think I visited New York. In LA, we just kind of like I took the train in LA and I rode my bike. But I took the train and I rode my bike. When I took the bus in New York, I was really surprised. I'll tell you something though. The reason I took the bus in New York was because I couldn't get a cab to stop for me.
Oh no.
Raisins never helped me learn about the bus. Anyway, so I couldn't. They didn't stop for me. I'm like, why aren't you stopping? Okay. This is what they mean, Mr. Cab Driver. You're not going to stop for me. So since the cabs would not stop for me, I was forced to take the bus. And when I got on the bus, I was like pleasantly surprised. I was like, this is nice. I was like, it was like an older woman and she had like a white jacket on. It was white. She had like this nice silver bob and this red lipstick and this white jacket, and she's sitting there and I'm like, oh, I could do this. This is cool. Look at she's fancy and she's clearly on the bus. And so this is clearly some kind of New York thing where public transit is kind of cool. And I was like, wow. I was like, why can't LA have this? Why can't LA and I've told this story so many times. Like I couldn't get a cab and I got on the bus and it was so nice. And I was like, they even had, I went on the bus one day and they had little things that you could put your phone, like charge your, the bus in Manhattan, you could charge your phone.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, whoa, this is nice. Like we should have this in all the buses. I mean, like you said, I did when I went to Portland, you're right. I did take a bus and it kind of reminded me of what I think the buses in Bogota looks like because it had like a bus stop, reminded me of a subway stop. And it had like seats. And essentially, there's a bus stop. I'm lucky. I live by the light rail and the heavy rail. But there's a bus stop, like kind of like across the street from the light rail by my house, and it's by a big tram. And there's no seat, so you just used to wait by a big old trash cans. And it's really interesting.
My bus stop in the Coachella Valley was a concrete bench in the blazing hot sun in the desert, and it was like, I mean, the bench itself would be like 100 degrees to sit on, and then just the sun hitting you, no coverage or anything like that. But then when the bus would come and the doors would open and that cold air would hit you, that was very refreshing. I did enjoy that.
Oh my, yeah, I think that too. Yeah, I guess in Arizona you'd have to have like little like water on you, right? Like sprinklers on you.
Yeah.
They have that at the bus stop.
The bus stops in a lot of the areas in Phoenix, from what I remember, yes, a lot of them did, especially in like the more metro areas in Phoenix. As you got to like the more suburban areas like Mesa and some of the outlying cities, they were a little bit fewer and far between, but they still were well lit and
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, this is the thing. I feel like we can have good bus service, but we have to view it as not this is something that everybody can use. It's worth funding. It's not, we shouldn't view it as, oh, that's a cheaper way to do it and then do it cheap. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's a cheaper way to do things, it doesn't have to be cheap. It can still look nice. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, this is for poor people, or poor people use it, so we can't make it too nice. I mean, these are kind of like these weird, I think, puritanical things that we do in the West, and I don't know if this exists other places. We'll have to just, was it our, I want to call it the red envelope. What is the new
Oh, XHS.
XHS?
The red note, yeah.
Red, red envelope. Anyway. So I think that's something we should, look at different examples, and not think that just because everybody rides it, that it has to be this utilitarian, ugly thing. It should be something that everybody can use, and everybody can, that it's pleasant for everyone.
And it can be pleasant for everyone. I enjoyed riding the bus in when I lived in California. I enjoyed riding the bus in Phoenix. Like, I felt like I could get pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
If the only thing that I would say, and I think a couple people in the group also mentioned this on the thread, was the time. But that can also be alleviated by adding more bus.
Yeah.
If you have more frequent runs, you don't have to make as many stops, and express routes can also help that as well.
Yeah, and also just houses that are near jobs, so people aren't taking, like, you don't have to take, you don't have to, like, find out, like, drive to you qualify to get a place, and then your car breaks down because it's so freaking hot in, like, the western part of the country, and then you're, like, taking a bus that's taking, like, forever. And I mean, I think that's the thing that's amazing. I think about it, like, every day. Like, my house, I can get to New York in 20 minutes. I can get to Midtown in 20 minutes from my house on the train.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that should be possible for everybody. And it should be possible because of the climate and all this stuff, the climate crisis, and just what driving and being on public transit for 2 hours does to your brain. Like, it is, yes, like, it shouldn't take an hour. It shouldn't take you longer to take the bus than it is for you to drive your car. I take the train into Manhattan because there is no way I'm driving to New Manhattan from my house in 20 minutes. That's never going to happen. I can't get better service.
It doesn't, even if you left at like 4:30 in the morning, it would not happen like that.
No, it would not. So, I mean, essentially, that's kind of like, I mean, that's our conversation for today. Is there anything that you want to share with our?
Well, I was when I was looking around and I was thinking about my experience with being a primary bus commuter. I did not have a car when I lived out west. I didn't even I let my driver's license lapse for so long that when I moved back to New Jersey, I had to go through the written test, permit again. Like,
oh my goodness.
I had to take a driver's test when I was like 25 years old. It was kind of, I was like, I've been driving for years, but I did a little bit of research about the Valley Metro, and Valley Metro is for Phoenix and the whole outlying areas. They have 111 bus routes.
Wow.
And they have nearly 8,000 buses.
Wow.
And that's amazing. And I think that's why, every single, from what I remember, every single main route had its own bus route on it. Every single main street had its own bus. And even in the Coachella Valley, and that's in Palm Springs and the little surrounding cities, that even has 9 bus routes and 575 bus stops. And even that was like manageable. Yes, it took me a little while to get to work when I lived in California, but it was manageable. It was not such a burden that I felt like I couldn't take. But it is doable. It's happening in American cities now. We're just not looking towards those cities for the ideas that they can share with us.
No, I would not think, I would never think to look at Phoenix. You know, I know places that shocked me, like Arizona, Las Vegas. Those places actually shocked me. Like, I was surprised when I went to Las Vegas and they had all of these bike lanes all over the place.
I was surprised at how many people, and in Phoenix, I would say that middle class men did ride the bus.
Yeah.
At least when I lived there, and of course, like this is of course going back to like the early 2000s, but middle class men did ride the bus. You know, like I saw them. I worked at Circle K, and I saw they would get off the bus. They would come in and get their coffee in the morning. Like they suits, briefcases, you know, all sorts of different kind of jobs rode the bus in Phoenix, and it was an acceptable form of transportation.
Yeah.
And it wasn't looked down on. Everybody rode the bus. They were clean. They were well lit. They were. The air conditioning was very, very good.
Yeah. No, to say for New York, for a person who's from the East Coast, the fact that you let your driver's license really shows that it must have really been working. Because I know people when they move to LA, they're like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" But yeah, but I mean, I've heard this about Phoenix. They're like, "Oh, you know, we have this," and even Las Vegas in regards to like their water contract. We're gonna have to look at the Southwest, even though I think the Southwest is a bad idea.
Yeah.
but they're making that bad idea work really, really well.
They are adapting some good in their bad idea.
Yeah. Like it's kind of like living in the desert is a bad idea. But you know, even Los Angeles is kind of a bad idea, but it's a great, like, fabulous place to live. But this is like the public transit. We can go on and on about this. We can talk about those different topics later. So thank you so much, Kimberly. Like, and we're gonna have more of these talks and more of these chats. And
thank you so much for having me.
No, you're gonna be here again. So you know, because you're the co-host, so you got to be. Don't act like you're leaving. This is not the last show.